small biz pro, and so we grow. Using procurement, program, and control. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Business Zone with
Crystal
and Coach Gilbert Buchanan, your small business paramedic. And folks, today we're going to have an amazing show. Most of you have been waiting on this show for the longest time. We got some great materials for you. But in the meantime and in between time, I want to talk to my co-host. Co-host, how you doing today?
Hello, everyone. I hope you guys have had a good week. We've had some ups and some downs and some ins. Oh, I'm sorry, and some ins and some outs. And it's been a wild week for me because Monday, with the inauguration, did not watch it. I spent most of my time doing things from Martin Luther King, and I also spent my day in the garden. So I wanted a more positive way of starting my week. And it started with a bang. He started with a bang, just as I knew he would. And so it's been some critical things that have taken place. You guys have, I'm sure, I've been watching it. There's seven points of grief, and the first one is denial. I was never in denial, but I am stuck in anger. I don't know if I'm gonna get to the other seven, but I
Oh,
am stuck
man.
in anger just at the things that have been going on. And for me, co-host, as I get older, I have an aversion to cruelty, and it really
Yeah,
bothers me when
yeah,
people are being cruel for no apparent reason other than the fact that they want to be cruel.
yeah.
And so a lot of the things that he has done and put into place since he was inaugurated on Monday and signed his first whatever 3,000 executive orders have all been based in cruelty.
Yeah.
And
I
so it really, really bothers me. And so I'm going to have to work on myself to get me through this 4 years. And then I heard yesterday they didn't put in and I'm sure it's not going to happen, they didn't put in a bid for him to have a third term.
yeah,
And so,
that's never gonna happen.
yeah. And so it's just been interesting, for those of you that have been tuned into us for a while, Gilbert and I, during the election process, we did several shows on Project 2025. So it appears that he has ticked off at least eight or nine of the
Items on that
points.
list.
Yeah, the icon, the points on that Project 25 list. So some of them still have to go to Congress. The birthright is being challenged, which is a big issue for those that have had children and their child has a citizenship because one of the parent is an American, which affects my house because that's my daughter and my grandbaby. And so I'm not a happy camper. I really went over the edge on that one. And so these are just the things this week just have pissed me the hell off. How about you?
Man, see if anyone knows my co-host, man, you do not want to take her off. She'll be a thorn in your side forever. So you better come correct.
Yeah, so that's just it. It's just I just don't like cruelty. I don't like bullies. I none of that. I don't like any of that, and I don't think it's necessary. Um, there is no one better than the other person, and so therefore that doesn't give you permission to really just be horribly mean and cruel to other human beings. So that's where Crystal is. And I don't know if I'm gonna come out of it. I'm gonna do my best to not inflict it on anybody else, but but I don't know. We'll see. And how about you, co-host? How was your
Well, my
week?
week was pretty good. Recovered from my COVID and recovering from my situation there in Florida, which which
Okay.
I talked about on the last show, how
Right.
how this AI conference that I went to, the lady was so rude and disrespectful, trying to get me to sign some unconscionable paperwork. And I said, no, wasn't going to sign it. I say, you know, as in any contract clause, if there are things you don't like about a contract, you put a line through it, you initial it. That means it doesn't go, but doesn't mean the rest of the contract does not go. But she had no clue
Right.
about contracting, so she couldn't understand that. So she was just very rude, very disrespectful. So I said,
So
"Hey,
you
oh
recovered
yeah, I'm all
now?
recovered from all of that, so
Oh,
I'm good to
good.
go right now."
So you had your challenges this week as well and
Yes,
last
yes,
week.
yes. I had my challenges. So the good thing is, I signed up a few new clients, about three or four of them. I have a
Okay.
contract readiness program that I'm running right now, which shows, which
Okay.
shows the small businesses how to become contract ready. I go over a few of the documents with them. We do an assessment, so they have a score and they know where they score, where they fall, what they need to have done, and I coach them, guide them along so they can become ready. Help them with their capability statement, help them to develop a statement of qualifications, which most small businesses don't have. Most small businesses don't even know what a statement of qualifications is. So I have to walk them through that, set up their back office, make sure all their paperwork is in order, business license, insurances, permits, all of those things are in place. And I assist them with packaging their first bid. So they can do a bid, submit it to a contract provider, and I walk them through it, guide them, break it down for them, explain things to them. So usually small business don't get access to that. They just blindly submit bids and hope that they win. Um, and some of the contract providers that I make them available to are contract providers who know my work. They know the quality and caliber that I present to the marketplace. So they stand a much better chance of winning. So, oh yeah.
Okay.
So that's been my new campaign. I would love to have say 20 of these small businesses who are trying to get contract ready within a 3-month time frame. And so that's how I want to do it
Mhm.
quarterly, 20 per quarter. So at the end of the year, I should have about 80. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I'm looking for.
Well, awesome, awesome. I'm in it's year in and or actually tax prep time. So that's what I've been doing
Hmm.
all week is getting clients prepped and helping clients get and making sure that 1099s are done and what the tax schedules are and making sure that they're ready to file taxes. So that's been my week. It's been quite a busy
Yes.
week, couple of classes and so next week, so that part's done. I think I have a couple more classes leading up to, but pretty much everybody's on task and on point to getting tax ready. And so we'll see what that looks like come March 15th and come April 15th for those that have to file at that time. I do want to let everybody know if, first of all, we still have fires raging in the state of California now. It's not even in Los Angeles anymore. It has migrated down to San Diego and out to Ventura. And so it's just really crazy. I think at this point there are a lot of pyromaniacs out there thinking this is like a new thing because we haven't had any wind, we haven't had any. Hopefully, I think we're supposed to have rain tomorrow, which could put an end to all of this. But I heard last night, this morning, that down near Chula Vista in San Diego and some areas. I have some friends that live down there, and they were saying they could see it in the horizons, but they did not have to
So
evacuate.
many of
So
those many of
can't
those are
wait.
copycat fires then, right? They're not real Thus,
Yeah,
people decide to just go out there and be a menace to society and setting these fires,
yeah, that's it.
not realizing how it's damaging people and their families and the economy. It's crazy.
The economy. And I read yesterday. I did a workshop yesterday on business taxes and business insurance and risk and taxes and so forth. So as a result of these fires in California or that started in Los Angeles, a lot of it's going to change the insurance industry, especially the commercial fire and casualty industry, because this is going to be huge. It's going to be an amazing, huge payout. Some of the fires at this point are contained. I believe the Pacific Palisades fire is about 65 to 75% contained. But however, there are people that still, uh, in walks the menace to society. Hey, Greg. Um, they arrested someone in relationship to the fires that started in the Pacific Palisades. They arrested someone for the fires for the Kenna fires. And it's just ridiculous. The fire department, in addition to doing these major fires, the police and the fire department have been working overtime in order to stay on top of all the little fires that are going on as well. So there's just some ignorant individuals out there that don't understand how any of that. So, but the insurance company that had canceled everybody's insurance was forced to now accept them. So people are getting in place with that. Their FEMA is in place. Is our understanding. We talked about this on the community briefing on Thursday. If you are running crowd funds, be very careful because if it's replacing cars and things like that, then FEMA is not going to replace those. So just be very careful. Get enough information, and by all means, make sure you are not subject to any other criminals out there that are doing the scams and the gouging and all that sort of stuff. So it's just amazing how the worst comes out in people when there's tragedy and crises that are harming other people. Back to that cruelty thing.
Before I respond to this, I want to say shout out to our field correspondent, Mr. Greg Sneed. Haven't talked to you in a while, my brother. Hope you're doing fine. And no, we don't think you're a menace to society. We just think that you're a good contributor to our program. You've been helping us tremendously. So, welcome to the show, my friend. And thanks for supporting us all these years, providing us all the resources that you have. He said scam calls have gone up 400% in the last week. That is true. There's a lot of scammers, folks, and this is information that I don't want you guys, even though we're laughing right now, I don't want you to take it lightly. There are a lot of scammers out there, and like my co-host was saying earlier, that a lot of people choose to prey on victims, the dispossessed, and people who are injured from natural disasters or other types of situations like these fires that we're experiencing here in Southern California and Pasadena and different areas. But please, people call you on the phone acting like they're trying to help you. Make sure you vet them properly because there's a lot of criminals out there, and I can't wait. Can't wait for the feds to set up a sting and catch all these criminals because instead of them going out and trying to make an honest day's living, they're preying on folks who are already being battered and beaten by these natural disasters. So, folks, just please be cognizant. Please be careful. Like our field correspondent, Mr. Greg Sneed said, scam calls have gone up 400% in the last week. 400%. That's a lot. So, there are people going to call you about your electricity, tell you that there are bills that are owed and you need to put your credit card. No, we're not doing that. They're going to call you, they're going to tell you about your gas bill. No, we're not doing that. People are going to call you, tell you they're calling from the social um, uh, social service administration. They're telling you that. No, we don't want to talk to them. And when they call, they have a funny accent too. The federal government, the federal government, they don't have any employees, as far as I know, with those funny accents, guys. So thanks again. Call again. You know,
I know. I got two this morning, and I've been taking up Greg's. Greg has a yeah a great response to those individuals that are scammers. But this morning I got one calling to tell me about that I know that I hadn't verified my Google business account. And I let them go through, and of course they have foreign accents, right? And I said, so which business are we talking about? And they went, huh? Which business are we talking about? And so they just hung up the phone.
see, they thought they could just come in and say some stupid things, and we go, "Oh yeah, it's my business." No, what? Tell us what business. Greg said, "Look who's talking about funny accents."
Right, exactly. So it's crazy. And yes, Greg, yeah, foreign investors. So everybody, just right now, you are in a very vulnerable state. This is like just breaking up with a boyfriend. Don't answer phones. Don't go out with nobody. Don't talk to nobody. Don't promise nobody anything because you are not in a place
That's
to
right,
do that.
folks. There are always scammers out there.
You are too
Anyone who
vulnerable.
calls you on the phone, the
Yes,
first thing you want to do is be suspicious that they're scammers. It's the first thing. And say, "Can I take your name,
exactly.
number, and information?" We've got the feds here also shares our information, and see how quickly they hang up.
Right, exactly. So yes, exactly. So just be careful out there, guys. There's a whole lot of stuff going on, and you have to keep all of your active faculties about you, your everything, all your senses should be activated right now because folks are coming at you from every
Yeah,
direction, and just don't do anything. Think through it, talk it over with someone that you trust. Use your critical thinking skills and everything right now
yeah.
is no.
Don't
Just
reject
no.
everything, guys. Everything. If they're calling you, claiming they're
Oh,
calling from insurance companies, they want to come and assess your place. No, we got to know more about you first. Who are you? What's your name? What's your title at this insurance company? Because usually insurance companies don't just voluntarily come in and do walkthroughs at your property. You have to invite them. Just remember that. 'Cause
right. And I think it starts with FEMA now. So if you go to FEMA, but in some areas the people haven't even had an opportunity to even get into their burn areas to even see what their
yeah,
houses are. So you can't respond as of yet right now. So but we just want our prayers and hearts are with everyone out there. And thank you to all of the fire departments that have been involved. They came from all over the world to help. And I haven't heard of too many casualties. I don't think I've heard. I think I've heard some of them, but nothing really bad. So we want to give thanks to all of them. I hear that the National Guards were out there because they had to protect the houses because, of course, the looters came out in full force. So thank you to the National Guard. And then for all of the organizations and people that have gone out and shown the humane side of us when people are in a crisis. Thank you all for being there and providing support and donating your money, your time, your energy, and all of that. So we just want to keep you. We'll hold you all in prayer, and hopefully with the rains coming in tomorrow. I think they're coming in tomorrow night, and it's going to rain all day Sunday. I hope we get just a big dousing of rain and then we will clear all that out. But here's the funny thing that we got fires going. I think God is speaking actually. We got fires going on over here. They had snow, not a little bit of dust. They had ground covered snow in Louisiana, in Mississippi,
Atlanta.
in Arkansas, Atlanta, so there's snow where they can make snowballs and throw like when Greg and I lived on the East Coast, and then Detroit and all those areas they have their regular. And I had to chuckle because one of my really good friends is from Detroit, and he's always talking about Detroit and going back to Detroit to live, and because California. And then so he jumps on a plane. I'm leaving California to get away from these fires. He gets to Detroit. It's so cold. He said he had to sleep with his clothes on, his robe on, his socks
Who
on, his
was that?
shoes
Who
on,
was
and
that?
then is a friend of mine, and he says that 2 days later I was back on a plane back to California, and it's 75 degrees. I was
He's
dying.
coming back to California where it's hot. Hot, hot.
He said, "Let me. I got to get back to California." So he came back to California, and it's 75 degrees. He actually posted it on Facebook. Said, "This is where I'm supposed to be." And I teased him. I said, "You know, your Detroit blood has that thickness of that blood is gone, man. You got thin, watery blood like all the rest of us that implanted from another state. California blood can't handle anything below 50 degrees."
Well,
So that was
for
that
those
was
of you who are
funny.
just tuning in, this is the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, and we're on every Friday from 3 to 4:30. We provide resources, information, and content for small and micro businesses within the economy. We try to give you guys guidance, try to give you some advice, some coaching, and all of that to help you to become better businesses, more competent businesses, and be on top of your game. You can be contract ready, business ready, loan ready, and even nonprofit ready. That's what we do here on this platform, this channel. We've been here on the air for more than 8 years. This is our ninth year, as a matter of fact, guys. And it would be nice, co-host, if we did a little com- say celebration party. I'll say that.
Yeah, we have to work on. We have to see what's gonna happen, man. Because we're gonna take every month at a time nowadays. Because there's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, that
But
would
you
be
know what
nice.
though? You know
We'll
what
be
with that
going.
though, right there.
Huh,
I'm gonna
huh.
step in and say we're not gonna let those other energies or the other vibes slow us down or put a damper on our growth. Because I remember, right after slavery, it was the same thing. The planters, the slave owners, and everyone was, oh, well, you took away our free resources, our money making machine. So now we can't make money anymore, so we can't help them. They're homeless. And that's what they did to the slave, kicked them out in the street. And the slave, they didn't rely on what those slave owners were doing. They went out, become entrepreneurs. They provided solutions to things. So we're not gonna watch these guys day by day and see what they do. We're gonna do things because that's what entrepreneurs do, man. Entrepreneurs go out there and then they make hay while the sun is shining. So that's what
All right. So we're
we're
gonna
gonna
make
make
some
some
hay.
hay, man. We're not
Okay.
gonna watch these guys, which leads into our the topic of our program today. DEI program. If federal government gets rid of their DEI programs, what is the impact on DBE, which is Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program? So we want to talk about that. Now, they've been talking about DEI a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot on the air. And they're talking about DEI from an employment standpoint, an employee employer standpoint. We want to come at this from a small business and a contracting standpoint because we know the lifeblood of our economy are those small and micro businesses who have made sacrifices, the same ones whose descendants were of those slaves, the slave owners who kicked us out and say, hey, we're not going to support you anymore. You were a money making machine, and now we can't benefit anymore because of this stupid emancipation law. So it's the same thing here. We're going to step out there and we're going to say, DEI, let me tell you about DEI, how it benefits the economy, how it benefits family and the country. So that's what we're going to cover today.
So we awesome, and it's going to be a great conversation because it does lend into what is happening in our world today. So, and the business zone, we're going to start addressing a number of things that are being said, because especially if it's going to have some really major adverse effects on our business
Yeah.
community. So we're going to be doing some responsive commentating for things that are going on that will directly affect our community. So one of those things that we are going to be talking about is the DEI programs and how that is going to affect with, they've one of the executive orders was to cancel the 1964 civil rights, the employment, was the EEOC. And so we're going to talk about that. And what we want to have a real conversation about, and we want to ask you guys for joining in, for those of you that are tuned into us. First of all, I think there's a misconception by some people out there in the world that DEI and the minority programs are all set aside just for
And it's
African
a
American
free
people.
program
It,
for
it,
us and nobody else, and that's not the
and nobody else has access to it, and that is so far from the truth. It is about discrimination, and discrimination covers numerous of criteria, and so we want you to understand that if the civil rights, if it's revoked as the executive order stated, then it's going to affect you as an employee, and that you as an employee could be of any color, any race, any age, any ethnicity, any gender. Your religion could be involved. Your health care could be involved. Your especially your social economic statuses are all involved. So you may need to, and so that's one of the things we're doing is bringing fact to fiction. So we can throw anything out there, but everything is based upon fact and history, and everything is tied into something. They didn't just one day wake up and say, okay, we're just going to not we're going to put this law in place or this executive order in place. It had a history and it had a reason for it. But before we get to that, we have I'm gonna share a video with you, because another thing on the table is the affirmative action. And again, not just for African Americans. In fact, the affirmative action law was based upon not just us, but women. White women were really the ones that really benefited from it more so than we did. And it doesn't take away merit. That's just one thing. But even with the DBEs, the disadvantaged businesses, it's not about, okay, I'm going to take somebody that doesn't have the merit. It's just we're leveling the playing field for everyone to have opportunity, so that just the 1% of America doesn't have all of the opportunities, and it's spread out amongst the entire country. So we're going to get into details about that. But right now, we're operating on an oligarch, and that is all about the 1%er. So if they didn't told you anything differently, you need to go Google what is an oligarch, and they'll let you know that if you don't have millions and millions of dollars in the bank, it is not about you.
they're lying
So
to you.
they're
Hey,
lying to you. So we're gonna bring some truth and fact and receipts, as they say.
hey, co-host, do you want to tell them about how to get access to subscribing to our channel and how to be a part of this every week and participate in our conversation?
Yeah. So before we jump into our show today, and we go over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button, and you will get a notification every time we go on air. We stream live on Facebook, YouTube, as well as LinkedIn. And so you, wherever you happen to be, you can actually find us there. So, but YouTube is where you will get a notification. So help us increase our subscriptions, and it's not a cost to you or anything. It's just to let you know that we are here at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon with an amazing topic that we want to share with you. So with that, and you can take a picture of the QR code, and it will take you directly to our YouTube channel. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I am ready to get started. Greg has said, "Got to take a call. I'll
So,
be back."
co-host, do you
Okay.
wanna define what DEI is to the audience for those for those of them who don't understand what DEI is, just give them a little explanation.
Yeah, I'll give you a little explanation before we jump into our little quick video there to set the tone. The DBE programs, or the Disadvantaged Small Business Programs, were designed to promote equal opportunities for the businesses owned by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals, often focusing on minorities, women, veteran-owned businesses. These programs were particularly important for contracting opportunities, such as those with the federal agencies, the state agencies, and the local government. So that is what the Webster definition of a DEI, or I mean not DEI,
DBE.
DBE, disadvantaged businesses, small businesses. Okay, so now before we do that, I am going to jump over here and share this conversation that took place at Harvard University. It was with a professor that is a political. He's a political philosophic. He has political philosophical program, a class. His name is Michael Sadal, and he helps individuals really use their critical thinking and have conversation with each other in order to come to a philosophy. Sorry about it, philosophy class, to come to some conclusion that your information may be based upon emotion and not on fact. So I'm going to share this
And
with you. It's quite
And
a
while my co-host is queuing up that video, guys, I just want to really explain to all of you viewers, listeners, what the DEI is really all about. It's about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, in many organizations, governments and private, commercial alike, they strive to bring about diversity, meaning people from different walks of life with different talents, different skills, different POV, what we call point of view. They bring those to the table to explain how they can enhance a campaign, how they can enhance a project or a program, with different viewpoints. So that's really what it is: diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, the equity part is that everyone try to get a stake at that project, that program, what it's all about. Doesn't necessarily mean that what you get is going to be equal to what I get. It's going to be equal to what someone else get. But equity means equal access. They want everyone to have equal access to those programs, and it's not going to be equity of results. It's just equity of access, and that's really what these programs are about. And inclusion is, making sure everyone is inclusive in the process. So that's really what DEI is all about. I don't see why that is such a big problem for a lot of people. A lot of people are complaining, oh, what's this DEI? I hate it, without even understanding. Everybody has gone through DEI: men, women, short, tall people. It doesn't matter who it is. We've all been through DEI because
and in a lot of times it doesn't feel
yeah,
comfortable. In all aspects, you feel it you felt it at school, you felt it with
yeah.
your friends, you felt it when you started dating. Some women may like tall guys, football athletes, and then others may, but you may like that person and you may be short and non-athletic and
And
they don't
even if
like you.
you're into
And
sports,
so,
it's the same thing. You want that DEI. You want access to be on the team. You show your skills and your
right,
talent, and that's really what it's all about, guys. you know
right.
if you're a small business, you want access to opportunities so you can take care of your family and you can take care of other families as well by hiring people. So that's what DEI is all about. Some people are just making it into something that it's not. So my co-host is going
Yeah,
to show you guys a video right now which speaks in terms of logic, intelligence, and some people bring their personal opinions to the table, thinking that it can substitute logic and and intelligence. So Go ahead.
Right,
Oh,
exactly. So here we go. These are college students at Harvard, and they are in a philosophy class having a conversation about the case of affirmative action. What the professor did, I'm kind of queuing it up for you. He kind of set a tone, and then he asked questions, and he got to get responses, and then counteractions to the response. So here we go. Hope you guys enjoy it. It was kind of eye opening for me.
What for
Okay,
two
and
reasons. First of all, you have to look at the university's purpose. It is to educate their students, and I feel that different races, people coming from different races, have different backgrounds, and they contribute differently to the education. And second of all, when you say they have equal backgrounds, that's not true when you look at the broader picture and you look at slavery. And this is kind of a reparation. I think affirmative action is a temporary solution to alleviate history and the wrongs done to African Americans in particular.
And what's your name?
David?
David. You say that affirmative action is justified, at least for now, as a way of compensating for past injustice, the legacy of slavery and segregation.
Right.
Who wants to take on that argument? We need now a critic of affirmative action. Yes, go ahead.
I think that what happened in the past has no bearing on what happens today, and I think that discriminating based on race should always be wrong, whether you're discriminating against one group or another. Just because our ancestors did something doesn't mean that that should have any effect on what happens with us today.
All right.
Feelings over
I'm sorry,
facts.
Your name is?
Kate?
Kate. All right, who has an answer for Kate? Yes.
I just wanted to comment and say that
Tell us your name.
my name is Mansour. Because of slavery, because of past injustices, today we have a higher proportion of African Americans who are in poverty, who face less opportunities than white people. And so because of slavery 200 years ago, and because of Jim Crow, and because of segregation, today we have injustice based on race.
Kate?
I think that there are differences, obviously, but the way to fix those differences is not by some artificial fixing of the result. You need to fix the problem. So we need to address differences in education and differences in upbringing with programs like Head Start and giving more funding to lower income schools rather than trying to just fix the result so it makes it look like it's equal when really it isn't.
Yes.
Well, with regard to affirmative action based on race, I just want to say that white people have had their own affirmative action in this country for more than 400 years. It's called nepotism and quid pro quo.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with correcting the injustice and discrimination that's been done to black people for 400 years.
Yeah.
Good.
Co-host, you want to react to
Wait, tell
this?
us your name.
Hannah?
Hannah. All right, who has an answer for
Well,
Hannah?
we're going to get a
just to
reaction,
add
and
to
then we'll
Hannah's
get a
point,
reaction. We'll react.
Because we need now someone to respond. Hannah, you could have also mentioned legacy admissions.
Exactly. I was going to say, if you disagree with affirmative action, you should disagree with legacy admission, because it's obvious from looking around here that there are more white legacies than black legacies in the history of Harvard University.
And explain what legacy admissions are.
Well, legacy admissions is giving an advantage to someone who has an arbitrary privilege of their parent having attended the university to which they're applying.
All right, so
Yeah.
a reply for Hannah. Yes, in the balcony. Go ahead. What do you say?
Well, for
Okay. So, so that what you saw there was young people having conversations, and based upon their experiences and what they've heard, possibly what they've learned in school, they each had a different take on it. But Hannah actually kind of put it in put the nail on the head, because what is that saying? The pot can't call the kettle black. It's
Mhm.
on the other side that, and this happens all the time. And the reason why these programs have to be in place because of nepotism, right? They bring in all their friends, family, children, whatever, and they just get to walk right on in. Merit doesn't have anything whatsoever to do with it. It's just you have a parent, a family member, or a parent that walks you in the door, and they make the connection, and therefore the job is yours. And most of the time, they don't even have to do anything to apply for the job. So the reason for affirmative action is exactly like the young man and Hannah said, is to level that equality so that yes, you can come in on merit. The one young lady talked about merit and it only should be merit. Well, it should be until you bring in nepotism and legacies and things of that nature. So that's my comment to that. And yours,
So
Gilbert?
so I think it's very, very important, and I should say very rich, that the young lady, the second lady who spoke, her name is Kate.
Mm-hmm.
Kate is very young. Kate, it doesn't seem as if she has a lot of experience or a lot of knowledge on these topics. So Kate was speaking from a point of feelings. She felt something, so she spoke on it. She said, well, not because our ancestors did something 400 years ago mean you're going to hold us accountable for those things, right? Now, Kate represent a group of females, white females out in the marketplace in the economy,
Mm-hmm.
who they say those things, but then they're the same people who complain about the patriarchy. They complain about the fact that they were in the home, they couldn't work, they never had credit cards, they were just homemakers, they couldn't go out and create their own jobs. And they talk about that over and over and over, even though the laws have changed under the Civil Rights Act, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which is a big catch all for a lot of these programs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she is complaining, or she's asserting, I should say, that
Mm-hmm.
black folks shouldn't argue and complain and keep arguing about what happened 400 years ago. They need to just pick themselves up, brush themselves off, and move on. But what Anna is saying is, the reason people can't just pick themselves up and brush themselves off and continue on is because there's an inherent system that's existing based on those folks from 400 years ago. They've built this continuous program wherein those programs are built out of nepotism, and they're also from that legacy discrimination practices, meaning that because your parents, your grandparents, your previous relatives, they attended an institution, they were involved in certain successful program, then that means their siblings, their offsprings have a level of entitlement to that, and they don't have to compete like everybody else, like most of us. So you see how they're making their argument for DEI and then ripping it apart against DEI. So that's what I got out of this right here.
Yeah, so it's a healthy conversation, and it actually is much it's extended. So if you want to see the whole entire class, I actually put the link in the chat there, and you can also Google that, and on YouTube it actually pops up in YouTube as well. I found it on my Instagram, so that's where I linked you to. But you can go to the case of affirmative action at Harvard University for the philosophy class, and it will give you the full entire conversation. But that is going to lead us to our programming today, because this is kind of part of that, right? It's just really not having all of the information to make better informed decisions about things that are affecting many people's lives and not just one grouping of people, which is the uh, which is what they're insinuating, but is really not the case at all. And so we just want everyone to just use all of during the next 4 years, definitely right now. Just look at things and take it on its face value, and then go and do your own research. I believe that is only way we can make sure that there is equity and inclusion, and that everyone is given an equal playing field if you really understand all of the information that is all the information that is out there. So Gilbert, I'm going to so this was we kind of spoke on it. Our conversation today is if the federal government, is a question to the audience, gets rid of the DEI programs, the DBE programs, what does that look like, and how does that impact us as a whole? And I mean the whole entire United States and all of the individuals that live in the United States. So with that, Gilbert, you want to take it away?
Oh, certainly, my co host. So, the disadvantaged business enterprise, and the reason we kind of pair these two together, the DEI and the DBE program, which is, as you know, DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then the DBE is disadvantaged business enterprise. So, what is disadvantaged business enterprise? So, disadvantaged business enterprise is a program that was established by the federal government for small businesses who are called the or classified as disadvantaged because they usually do not have access to opportunities like the regular businesses, just like we talked about earlier, through nepotism or legacy preference programs. So, because small disadvantaged businesses, they're disadvantaged because they don't have access, so they have to play on the outskirt, and they have to wait for any scraps of opportunities that was thrown to them, and then they try to thrive that way. So that's really how the disadvantaged business title came into place, because there are certain groups of contractors who would get contract opportunities over and over and over. The government were even bundling contract opportunities. So let's say you are a contractor and you get awarded a contract, then the government would award another contract, but they would attach it to that existing contract. And then most of the contracts that they award after that, they would attach it to that. So this one prime contractor would continuously keep that contract, keep getting more opportunities on that contract. So it will never go out to bid. And because of that situation, the federal people complained, and then the federal government said, okay, we need to we need to go ahead and put the system in place to make to even the playing field, to make things a little bit more balanced for contractors or small businesses that we classify as small or micro businesses. Okay, so that's how the disadvantaged business program came into place. Now, when I say the federal government, I'm speaking about programs that fall under the U.S. Department of Transportation, which is a federal entity. So they're the ones who are using these programs to ensure that there's no discrimination in the award practice of their federally assisted contracts. The U.S. Department of Transportation also has what they call a financial assistance program, and part of that is tied into this DBE, disadvantaged business program. Now, the disadvantaged business enterprise program was an extension of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So, in 1964, the federal government established this act, which is authorized under Title Six for the Civil Rights Act, which state that they cannot discriminate against small businesses in terms of economic. If they want to try to promote economic development, they must give them an even playing field and opportunities from which they can grow, they can hire businesses, and they can help to grow the community. Now, that started back in 1980. The DBE program started in 1980. Now, as that program continued, they noticed there were some other issues within that program. And many of those other issues were that some of these contractors, they say, okay, we'll abide by this 1964 Title VI program you guys are talking about, and we'll do what we're supposed to do. But they never agree and execute on what they agree to. So what they were doing is they were circumventing those agreements by discriminating. So if they give a contract to a small business or a disadvantaged business, they'll still discriminate against them in terms of sex, race, color, creed, religion, that type of thing. Oh, you're from this group, therefore we can't give you more than maybe $100,000 worth of contract award.
Mhm.
You are a minority, so you guys are not so bright, you're not so smart, so you can't handle $1 million contract. So we'll just give you a $100,000 contract. That should be good for you guys. You guys are not used to managing large amounts of money, you know. So that's how they bring about their discriminatory practices. And a lot of our small businesses were complaining to the federal government, hey, why can't you just award a contract directly to us? Why do we have to go through these contractors, these primes who are all about nepotism? They're all about legacy preference programs. They give opportunities to their friends, their associates, their friends' families, and all of that. They never give us anything because we're not friends with them. So
Mhm.
that's how the federal program, for the federal government, decide, okay, what we're going to do in these contract award programs, we're going to make sure it's written in the contract that you cannot discriminate against a contractor or a subcontractor because based on color, class, creed, religion, or sex. So if this is a woman owned business, I don't want to hear that women don't know how to run businesses. I don't want to hear that women can only do $100,000 contracts and not $1 million contract. I want them to have equal access to this if they're qualified. So that's how the DBE program was born in 1980. And then because it fell under the Title VI program, they expanded that to Title VII to include the non-discriminatory practices that to forbid it or prohibit it, and also with a race, color, creed, national origin, and all of that. So that's how the DBE program came into being, as opposed to just letting the usual suspects run rampant with these programs.
Ex- uh, exactly. And so, as you can see, it all kinds of it ties in with that the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, because this is all about opportunities for those individuals that potentially could be discriminated against. So that covers pretty much all of America except for the one percenters,
Yeah.
right? And so it's really part of that. Now, so as Gilbert was saying, it's based upon you are considered a disadvantaged business if you are your race, and so that means African Americans, that means Asians, that means
Latinos,
Latinos, so
Native American, that
Native Americans, anyone could be. If you are a different race than Caucasian, then you kind of fit into that category, right?
they
Pacific
also
Asian,
included people with disabilities as well.
right. So, and then gender. So, women are twice as likely as men to report discrimination based upon their sex. So,
Yeah.
again, let's go back to the early history. As Gilbert was saying, a number of Caucasian housewives were not allowed to work outside of the home. They were not allowed to have bank accounts. They weren't allowed to have credit cards. So this the
They
law,
couldn't they couldn't even vote.
they couldn't vote. Right, exactly. They couldn't vote until the women's suffrage went and they did a lot of protesting. So basically, they were a non-entity. They were the properties of their husbands, and so therefore they felt that the husbands were able to make all the decisions. And actually, if you guys read Project 25, women are also being stripped of their rights and opportunities and abilities as well. They really want them at home having babies and taking care of households and cooking dinner for their husbands and caring for the children. So women, this is women pretty much white women, because black women have no choice but to work. And it never applied to us because just everything else that went on in our world, where a lot of times our men were not there based upon discriminatory practices. They couldn't find jobs, and they also were incarcerated for nonsense in most cases, a lot of cases, and basically the black woman has been forced to be the head of her household. Disability. So 1 in 3 people with disabilities report experiencing discrimination. So if you have a visible disabilities, you're in a wheelchair, you have some health disparities, just a number of things could render you disabled. They also experience discrimination. Sexual orientation. So 16% of the LGBTQ IA people report anti-LGBTQT discrimination when seeking medical care, when being hired. I mean, there's a lot of discrimination. Your age,
or even seeking contract opportunities too.
and seeking, if there's a person that doesn't, and I think there was one of the executive orders that now the United States is only going to only identify with the two sex genders, the one you were born with, male or female. So they're not going to recognize basically the LGBTQT. So they will be subject to discrimination and probably some harmful activities going on towards them. Age. So when you work in certain industries as a woman, as a man, age discrimination is huge, especially in large corporations where they focus on young people, bringing in young people. A lot of times, the older people get relocated to the back of the corner, and you may or may not be able to find jobs either if they feel that you're over a certain age, and the culture is more dominated young. And then on the verse side, like in the political world, it seems like old is fine, but it's not so fine when they want to revert back to areas and times when 1800s, then it's not fine. Natural origin, so people from other countries, there's discrimination. Religion, depending on, it seems like America wants to make Christianity the only religion in this country, which is not going to be possible because we have multiple religions and denominations. But evangelistic Christians feel there should be only one religion and it should be theirs. Ethnicities, this is again, ethnicities is all people from multiple countries, black, white, Italian, whatever it is. There's some sort of discrimination based upon your ethnicity. And then socioeconomic levels. And so this affects people who are living, they may would be considered the poor
They
of our
live in
country.
certain neighborhoods.
They live in certain neighborhoods, certain states. They're the ones that's only probably making $7 an hour. They're receiving the federal government, the federal was it a wage, and that would be $7. Minimum wage is $7.45, the federal rate, and so other states have advanced and are a bit more advanced. In California, I believe our minimum wage now is at 17 by a certain time, by 2026, 28 or something. I think it's going to be up to a $20 an hour. But a lot of our employers are paying their employees a large amount. So this again is not this DEI is not just for one ethnicity. It's for all of these criteria and people that could be discriminated. So just want to make this very clear. If you live in a lot of the southern states and you're based upon the IRS wage chart and you're making less than $40,000 and there's a family of four, then you would be considered at the poverty level, and you would have a lot of discomforts. And these are the people, Gilbert, that are having a lot of discomforts right now because they think it's everybody else's fault. But why is your minimum wage $7? Whose fault is that? And who
So,
should you be complaining to?
part of the reason why some of these groups are classified the way the government have classified them is because they use a practice that is called redlining. So they take this and redlining. It seemed like just a phrase, but it's pretty literal. Back in the day, they would take a pen, a red pen, and they'd draw a line through certain boundaries and say, okay, the people from this region right here, they're not allowed to come over on this side. They're not allowed to get loans. They're not allowed to get employment. They can't go to the same school that the folks over on this side are attending. So that's pretty much how they did it. And they did it with the communities, then they did it with the states, the regions. So Mississippi is considered the poorest nation in the country, and then you have Louisiana, Alabama, and other states like that. So if you notice, the folks who reside in those states, they tend to be of a much lower socioeconomic status. So
Mhm.
again, many of those folks are not just black; they're not just minorities. Many of those folks are Caucasian. So by them using the socioeconomic status to classify these folks, that's part of what you could look at as DEI. Because now they're saying, well, okay, we'll bring in five of those people over there and five over here. And, that's an example of their definition of DEI, but that's not what DEI is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be that one, you're bringing in people because they have a different POV, a different point of view.
Mhm.
They have a different perception on things. Their backgrounds are different. They look at things differently. They may have certain skill levels that are different. I mean, if I'm going hunting, I don't know anything about hunting versus someone from Alabama or Louisiana. I mean, come on. Those guys know more about hunting than I would because that's
Mhm.
what they do every day, you know?
Right.
So these are just some of those socioeconomic situations that they use to just pigeonhole folks and make it seem like they're all the same. They're monolithic, and it's not so.
Right, exactly. So the DBD is a disadvantaged, the certified disadvantaged business enterprises in the United States. There are nearly 50,000 of them. There are small businesses that are owned and operated by socially and economically disadvantaged people. So we've already explained who those people are. And so in a lot of cases, if you have a small business, you actually fit that category. And so these opportunities are opportunities that can help you increase your economic status and bring in, be able to earn more money to take care of your family, and you won't be so affected about what's going on in the economy. The more money you have, obviously, the least worries you have. And so um, these DBE programs are implemented by departments of transportation. So if any of you are working for Caltran or you're working Who are some of the other agencies, Gilbert? Cross
So
transit.
you have Caltrans, you've got the airports because that's transportation also. So
Mm-hmm.
the types of transportation they're talking is air, land, and sea. So
Okay.
sea would be, shipping, ports, that type of thing. The land would be buses, trains, that type of thing. And then for air, you're talking airplanes at airports, that type of thing. So all those transportation programs fall under DBE program because it's funded by the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Okay. So if you have businesses in that area, then you would qualify to be a contractor and to receive opportunities from the various departments. As Gilbert said, that includes highways, aviation, transit, and these are for-profit businesses where at least 51% of the business is owned by a economically disadvantaged person, and these people also control the day-to-day operations and the management of their business. So, if you are a business owner, then you could become certified and you could have access to all of these different types of opportunities for yourself.
And and I want to throw something else in there, co-host, because folks out there they're listening and they're going, well, these programs are not for me. Those are for the minorities and all those folks. This is not the case. It's called economically disadvantaged. That means if your earnings are within a certain category and it doesn't exceed a certain amount, like for example, in the DBE program, in order for you to be eligible, if you're making $2 million or less, if I mean your personal net worth, if your personal net worth is 2 million or less, you're eligible. If you own 51% or more of your business and you are one of those classified economically disadvantaged folks, whether you are African American, you're Native American, you're Latino, you're Asian, South Pacific Asian, uh, any one of those Asian groups, you are classified. So this is not just for one group. This is for multiple groups. Even if you're Caucasian and you live in certain economically downtrodden community, you are classified as economically disadvantaged. For example, if you are Caucasian living and operating your business in Watts or in Compton, which those are definitely economically disadvantaged areas, you're classified as a disadvantage. If you
Mm-hmm.
can't if you cannot get loans, right? You cannot get loans or lines of credit, keep getting turned down by the bank, you're considered economically disadvantaged. So that puts you in that category. So you don't necessarily have to be a minority to be called disadvantaged. So we just need to educate folks so they understand what those classifications mean, what the eligibility criteria is, and how to deal with this. Can you believe if you set up a business at the airport? When you go to those airports, you see those little food stands or you see those little shops that sell food or anything like that, right? If you set up there and you become certified to be in there, they're saying that you can make up to you can generate up to $59 million average over 3 years. 59, and you're still economically disadvantaged. Do you see what I'm saying right there? That is crazy.
It's a game changer. I mean, ever since when I first met you, Gilbert, and you were doing a presentation, it's like, wow, this would really change America,
Yes,
and
yes.
all of these small business owners that make up at least I think there's over, what is it, one,
You have
there's a,
you have 50,000 certified businesses, but
right,
there's
certified businesses, right?
yeah,
So and those small businesses generate over $1.5 million in job opportunities. That's
yes,
64% of the new jobs that are out there. So now there would be more jobs. But if this program disappears, that means the job opportunities disappear as well. And now, where do you go? Because the large companies, they hire and fire, and you major layoffs, and you're affected. Small businesses don't usually go through all of that if they have enough money and are generating contracts so that they can keep their employees. So those are some of the trade-offs. Big companies are really dictated, really, guys, by their stockholders. They decide what's happening based upon the shareholders that own stock in that company. So just be aware of that. And
And if they look at your data scrolling at the bottom of the screen right there, it shows that 61.2 million small businesses, they employ uh more than
over half,
46%.
yeah,
More
almost just approximately half of the U.S.
of the
workforce.
workforce. You see what I
That's
mean?
small businesses, not big corporations that got thousands of employees. Those are anomalies. It's the smaller businesses that are actually, and I have a number of graphs at the end of this presentation that will give you a really insight on what that is. But as we continue on with the process, is the program today, how DBE programs could be affected by the removal of the DBE programs could be affected by the DEI program. So Gilbert, you want to
Yeah.
go into the
So
details?
so one of the things that one of the impact could be, it will reduce focus on disadvantaged business communities. That means the communities would pretty much be non-existent. They're there, but you don't even know how they're helping families. They're helping other people, helping to employ folks, so people stay um, employed and being able to get opportunities in their community. So that's one way. If the DEI program should go away, then now there would be no measurements within the DBE program to say, well, this is how it impacts it, because then the playing field wouldn't be even. It would just be where it was before, where nepotism and that legacy preference would take control. The second item is that there will be a potential for less funding and resources. So if the DEI program goes away, where it ultimately affects the DBE program, then you won't see any kind of program, any kind of funding going into DBE programs. Here's an example of that. If if there's a government program that's funded by the US Department of Transportation, and it has at least $1,000 in there from the federal program, there has to be a goal set within this contracting solicitation, which states that X amount of those dollars should be awarded to disadvantaged business enterprise or programs like those. Do you see what I'm saying? So by having that, it helps to bring funding and resources to programs, help small businesses to be a part of the pie. Small businesses are hiring more folks. More folks are being able to feed their family and sustain the community. So it's like a domino effect. When things like these happen, it helps everyone as opposed to just one group like it is right now with the oil, the phone, the cell phone, the banking. You got
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 different groups who control the whole economy. So with DBE programs and the DEI program, they're trying to make sure they spread the wealth around so more people have a stake in it. Then policy and legal change.
Oh well, one wait, before you pass on for the number from number two, the potential for less funding. So here's how it works: the funding opportunities generally go for training and grants and so forth to the
Yes.
local nonprofits in your community. And
Hmm.
those nonprofits actually prepare you to be contract ready, and is of no cost to you. They also offer counseling and consulting and coaching for their small business community. So that means there would be less funding for those organizations to provide these free programs for you, which really are worth their weight in gold. Gilbert and I both do coaching for nonprofits in Los Angeles, in our area where we live, and we get, the feedback from our clients from the people that we serve are amazing. In fact, we have one of them on today, and Keisha has been participating in a number of programs, and it has been extremely helpful for her business. And in some cases, some amazing opportunities come just from being associated with that nonprofit that have been receiving that funding. Uh, um, so without the programs and without the DBE programs, this could be a major deficit again in a community that is trying to help their community and small businesses become socially and economically efficient and be able to generate job opportunities for other members in the community.
And also through this, talking about potential funding and resources, that's where you got agencies like the Los Angeles Urban League, you got Vermont Slauson Economic Development Corporation, and even the New Women Business.
Center, the GLAC.
Yeah,
They receive
Black,
these opportunities.
right,
Pacific Coast Regional Center in our area, and I'm
right.
sure in other states there are a whole host of chambers and other organizations that provide these resources, training resources for their small business community as well.
Right. And those organizations such as the Hispanic Coalition of Small Business in the Inland Empire, of which I'm the procurement chair, we provide training, contract readiness training to get small businesses ready. They know what documents they need in order to be contract ready. Their back office is set up, meaning all the key docs they need are there. They have a coach that's holding their hand and guiding them. They have someone like my co-host Crystal, who does the bookkeeping and accounting to show them what needs to be done. The difference between a balance sheet and a P&L, your taxes, is it current? Oh, last 3 years. So all of those things we do for small businesses on the DEES program. Now, without these things in place, many small businesses wouldn't have the resources of us to do that for them, or unless they're going to pay big money to us to provide the services. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And so the next one is the policy. You were getting ready to go there to the policy and legal changes.
Hmm. So, with policy and legal changes, these are related to some level of affirmative action. You have contracting set aside, and a lot of people think, "Oh, that's preferences. You're doing set aside." Well, if we don't do set aside contracts, guys, like I say, you're going to have the usual suspects getting these contract awards all the time. The same companies, the same type of result, the same type of thing. And in those programs, they're supposed to outreach to small businesses like you to bring you in as a part of their team. Do they do that? No. They'll send you some little bogus emails and say, well, we're bidding on a contract tomorrow. Do you think you might want to bid on this? Come on. Well, you get notified a day or two before a contract, and they expect you to be ready, have everything that they need so you can be included in their contract. And sometimes when you submit your bid to them, they take your information, pass it on, they share it with other potential um, bidders that they're trying to bring on their team. Say, hey, if you can beat this bid amount, then you can be on my team. So you may be bidding $100,000, and they say, well, you reach out to one of your competitors and say, hey, if you can beat $100,000, and then they may submit $80,000. Now they get the bid, which I think it's unfair. And a lot of those things are written onto these programs, on the policies and legal changes that will remove those types of things if there's a removal of DEI programs. So, these are things that, guys, you want to think about. Sometimes as a small business, you might think certain programs don't affect you, but if you think about it, every program out there affects you. Every program. It may
It,
it may affect you directly or indirectly, but it's going to affect you.
exactly. And then
Number
the
four.
potential number four. I'm gonna get over there to you now. Oh, all right.
So
There you go.
that's
Increase.
increased competition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the one where it says if the federal government no longer has DEI programs in place, then this might unintentionally increase competition. You remember we said that before. Unintentionally increase competition in some federal contracting areas. That means, remember I told you about those primes who reach out to their friends. First of all, they reach out to you and say, send me a bid. You send them your bid, they share it with these other folks and say, hey, if you can beat $100,000, you got the job. So now you're dealing with all these other sources. There's no rules in place that tells them they cannot do those things. So that's why you need programs like DEI in place in conjunction with contract awards programs to minimize those types of exposure to those criminal primes who do that type of thing. And I'm so big against that, it's unbelievable. My thing to you guys is, if you're bidding on a project and you only got a whole, or you found out about this project like 5 days before it's due, don't even waste your time. Don't even waste your time. I would say, 15 to 30 days, if you get notification within that time frame, yeah, maybe you can go ahead and pursue it. But 5 days or less, never waste your time, because I don't know too many businesses that get notified 5 days or less and they won those awards. Number five, co-host.
And number five is the public perception and the political backlash. So everyone knows that if you're, you know, this would definitely be part of a political debate when political leaders are running again or rerunning for election. People will look at these things to see, one is, what is your commitment to the community? What is your commitment to my community? Making sure that there are opportunities there available for me. So it really it can be a major effect, or create a different effect on how you're going to be elected. Because when we as voters are looking to vote, we're not, and this is what people think, we're voting because of the personalities of the people. No, we're voting because of policy. Now, obviously, there's 48% of the population that looks at whether they like the person or not. But for me, and for most of us that are living in certain communities, we want you to be performing on our behalf. It really upsets me when I go through all this effort to vote for you and then you just ignore me once you get elected because you only wanted me for that. And so the backlash could be detrimental for your career or for a politician's career, but making sure, because everything, there should be fairness, there should be equity, there should be equal opportunities for everybody or every human being living in a community, and every human being should have the opportunity to be able to take care of their families, put a roof over their head, feed their families, um, and provide for their families without struggling. That's my opinion. That's
And
my emotional opinion.
also many of these politicians, they think that we're a monolith. That means we all vote
Right.
the same way. We support the same type of people. No, we don't. especially if we're entrepreneurs. We're not supporting the same people. We're looking at our business, our bottom line, and go, okay, whoever is going to reduce my tax rate, whoever is going to provide benefits and opportunities to my employees, people in my community, maybe I'll lean toward that person. And I'm not going to lean toward, I'm not going to be committed to them forever. I'm only going to commit to them right now. So the next time around there's an election, I'm looking at what you're doing versus the other person as well. So
Mm-hmm.
this is going to have to keep going on, guys. And we need to start paying attention to these things and not just let these politicians come in and think that they can woo us, woo our votes, and get our votes just because we live in a certain neighborhood. They do nothing for us. Nothing for us. As far as I'm concerned, the last time, many of them talk about student loan forgiveness and what they're going to do. And many of us, we never even seen that. So don't make promises that you can't fulfill, guys.
And you, as a voter, your responsibility after you vote for someone is to make sure you keep up with what their promises were so that you can hold them accountable. Everyone should be held accountable for their actions. So if you're going to make broad strokes, paint broad strokes, and include everybody in your broad stroke, and I voted for you, now I have a problem because I obviously was eliminated from that picture. And
Yeah.
so you want to, that's your responsibility as a registered voter, is to make sure the person that you put your faith in, that you check that box when you voted, is doing what they said they were going to do and what you expect them to do for you and for your community. It's not you just didn't put them in there because you like their name. You put them in there, and I hope you're doing your research on who you voted for, because you want to make sure they are working on your behalf. That's so important.
And
So
the one thing I want to put out there in addition to that, co-host, is you and I may run a similar type of business, but it's not the same. So the
mhm,
remedy that they're gonna prescribe for your business may not be the remedy that I want in my business. So they have to look at us differently and see how they can address each of our pain points and solve that. If they want us on their side, but
exactly.
no longer are we voting blindly, so all of those things, come into place when it comes to, removal of DEI programs or maintaining DEI programs. It's all about fairness, equity, and equal opportunity.
Exactly. So, in summary, the DBE programs could still exist independently. The broader DEI context provides a very significant role in helping level the playing field and ensuring that disadvantaged businesses have access to opportunities. Removing these programs could diminish the focus on systematic inequities that make it harder for small business, disadvantaged businesses to thrive. And when they stop thriving, then it creates a major deficit in the community. And with the lack of monies in a community, economically stressful communities, it brings other elements to that. It brings theft and robberies and crime and all those kind of things, because it's a community that has become neglected, and so now it's just open season for everyone. There's a number of states across the country that have that blight in their states because of the fact that there's no programming, there's no jobs, there's no people have left to go find jobs somewhere else, and so it has created a blight. So here's a couple of charts before we close out for the day, that we thought would be interesting. Some fun facts. 32.5 million small businesses. There are 32.5 million businesses in U.S. 99% of all businesses in operation. There are, as we said before, 61.2 million small business employees in the United States, and that's about half of the U.S. workforce. and more than 1.5 million jobs are created by small businesses each year, 64% of the total number of new businesses. So it's very important for the vitalization of a community to have small businesses. And for this, and there should be some attrition. So as the older businesses or people that have had businesses are starting to retire, hopefully there are new businesses that are coming in order to replace those. So as you can see, nationwide, there's about 28.8 million small businesses, generating about 54% of the U.S. sales. And as there was a ticker going down below there, money spent at local businesses generate 3.5 times more wealth for the local community. And so these
Co-host,
are
you want to tell them? You want to tell them about how long the dollar stays in each community, depending on the ethnicity?
Yes. So in each ethnicity, in the black community, let's go. So white communities unlimited. In the Asian communities, about 14%. In the Hispanic community, is about 17%, and unfortunately, in the black community, it stays in the community. It recycles about 6 hours in the black community. So
Six
those are
hours, guys. 6 hours.
right, exactly. So that's kind of a sad state of affairs for those communities, but which creates a lot, as I said, creates life in those communities. We are consumers of everyone else, and we don't consume within our own
Our own.
community, which is a major problem within the black community.
Yeah.
So here are the some numbers, interesting numbers. So the state with the highest number of small businesses is the state of California. We have 4.2 million small businesses. It is a atmosphere that actually promotes and encourages small businesses, and so that's probably why there's so many. And there are a lot of opportunities because our driving force out here is tech, the entertainment world, um, and what else? The tech, entertainment, manufacturing. We do still have some manufacturing companies out here, and we have a melting pot actually of people that live here that are small business minded, I guess. Texas has 2.6 million, almost just close to just under 3 million. Florida has 2.4 million. New York 2.1 million. Illinois 1.2 million. Philadelphia 1.1 million, and then Georgia 1.1 million as well. So all of those particular states actually have a large number of commute populations that have come from around the countryside. Actually, there are a lot of individuals that relocate in those spaces, but that leaves the South with probably the greater need. And large companies come into the South, and they generally employ the citizens of those areas. But those large companies could also leave, and then that leaves that city without resources, so, and without jobs and opportunities, and then they have to leave and go to other states in order to survive and for their families to survive. So the DE program and the education of the DE program is vitally important. So if we don't do anything else today, what our motive would be is to encourage you to understand that everything isn't what it looks like on the outside, on the surface. You need to really do your homework in order to find out what really is going on behind the scenes. There's a wealth of information for you. All you have to do is go Google it, and it's out there. So don't take the word of any one body. Go find out for yourself, so that you understand that when you make some decisions and you follow certain people, they have their own agenda, and sometimes it doesn't count you in. So for those of you that are all excited about the new president, and him ticking off his list and shutting this down and shutting this down. Really do your homework and see if that affects you. So if you live in a small town and you have a small business and you're a female or you're from a socially economic challenged community, that his agenda is not your agenda. Just to be
Co-host,
honest with you.
if you could go back to the last slide for a second, I want to add something to that.
Which one? The
The
one?
one, the one with the states with the largest amount of small businesses.
Okay. Right here.
So it's the last slide. So what I yeah, that one. So
Mhm.
what I wanted to put out there, guys, is to let you know that this was a nice little infographic here that tells you a little bit about the structuring and positioning of our small businesses in the United States. Now, if you look at the graphic for California, California has the largest number of small businesses. Okay, they've got 4.2 million small businesses. Now, California is also the fifth largest economy in the world. Fifth
Mhm.
largest economy in the world, guys. That means after the US, after China, after Germany, after France, and many of those countries, come California. So, California, it's operating, even though it's a state, is operating like it's a country.
Mhm.
So that's something that you can look at when it comes to DEI and DBE programming and see how you as a small business is positioned to really do big things trade wise when it comes to GDP, and that's the generation of goods and services and selling goods and services in your state, in your community. That's what that
Mhm.
is. So the more you sell, the higher your dollar amount is. And that's why California does so well, because they sell a lot to the whole world.
Right.
And
We do.
yeah, if you can put yourself in that position and look at, DEI and how you can incorporate all of those, you can be doing a lot of great things in your business. So I just wanted to go over that just a little bit.
And that's what is very important. And so some of the industries, as I was saying earlier, that are in the state of California is health and medical insurance. Health and medical insurance, they generate about over $200 billion. Drug, cosmetics, and toiletry wholesaling, $180 billion. Automobile wholesaling, about $179 million. Hospitals, about $177 billion. Software publishing, $162 billion. Electronics and parts and equipment wholesaling, 152 billion. New car dealers, 152 billion. Public schools, 139 billion. IT consulting, 128 billion. Commercial banking, 115 billion. So there are some. That's a lot of money generating in one state, and actually that number I just looked at the 2025 number. California actually has 5 million small business owners.
Oh, so is that a projection or those are actual
Those
numbers?
are actual numbers.
Wow.
So
So,
some
usually California is a microcosm of the United States. So now it's even exceeded that. It's much larger than a microcosm, because if it meant that California has 5 million small business, then it would mean that the US has 50,000 50 million small businesses. Right now the US has about 30 million small businesses. In
right.
California, in California has, like you say, 5 mil.
We
So
got
it,
5 mil.
it's really exceeding that microcosm position.
Right, and we have about 38 million, 38, about 39 million people that live in the state of California. And it's so interesting because if you read now on the internet, everyone thinks they're trashing California.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and it's coming from the administration. But in actuality, Everyone, been pushing back on Governor Newsom, but the one thing that they do know is that we actually take care of 15 other states in the union. It's definitely the southern states. Our
Yeah.
GDP, we send money to them in
Wow.
order for them to survive. So, just very interesting as you guys are trashing state of California. It is one that it does have the largest GDP in the world. In fact, I believe one of the political leaders in Canada, when the president was indicating that he wanted to make Canada the 51st state, she says, "I got a better deal for you. We'll take California, and we'll take Oregon and Washington, and then we'll take Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire, and then you could have the rest of those states, and we'd be fine. So we won't be and we'll make them the 11th province in our country, and we'd be fine. So we do have some clout that we have is because, and then if you got 5 million small businesses, we haven't even gone into what that's what's making up that GDP. So again, we already did see some numbers that reflect that. So that is our show today. But before we end our show, I do want to share one other video that I was very impressed with. Um, and I'm going to leave this as a challenge to you guys as well, because she made it a challenge to the world. So I would like to I'm going to share that with you, and we're going to end our show on this note. You all know who this artist is, and so I would like to share that with you. So let me see if I can get it to speak. Let's see, where's my here. Okay.
I mean, how many of us in this room
Let me go back to the beginning. Oops. Alrighty. Okay, ready?
have colleagues and partners and friends from other races, sexes, religions?
Mm-mm.
Show of hands. Well, then, they want to break bread with you, right? They like you.
No, come on. Oh.
Well, then, this is their problem too.
So basically, she's saying we all have friends of other cultures and other religions that we call our friends, and so we're not as African Americans. We're not in this battle by ourselves. If you are a friend of ours and we are a friend of yours, just like the Hispanic population, we do have individuals that could be in danger right now with the ban and the picking up of the children. And so if that is the case, we can't stand on the sideline and not protest on their behalf. Um, there's a and you guys can look for it on the internet, but there was a poem that was released during Nazi Germany time, and it says, "First they came for the Jews, and then they came for the rest of us." So we want to make sure that as a human being, as a person that calls themselves a Christian, we are all God's children, and we need to protect each other and unite to support each other. So that is how we're ending the show today. And we will be back next Friday at 3 o'clock. You can find this program over on our YouTube channel, The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. Hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate that, and check it out. And if it was something that was informative and informational for you, please share it with your friends and family, especially small business owners that are doing that are DBEs, and let them know what opportunities are there for them. And so with that, Gilbert,
I want to say thank you also to Miss Keisha Mills, who's one of our ardent supporter and listener. Keisha, I hope you subscribed already, Keisha. I
I
hope you
just
had your
did.
friends subscribe too. But thank you, Keisha, for supporting us. Thank you for understanding our program today, DEI and the impact on DBE programs. We're going to continue this types of program. As a matter of fact, hopefully next week we may have a special guest on the show. We're going to speak to Dr. Thiele and see if she's available to speak to DEI because she has been uh, a creator, a developer, an author of that environment, DEI, and she could tell us how it's been run and how it helped small businesses and how it helped communities. So, with that being said, folks, before we sign out, please be sure to go to our channel, hit that subscribe button. Our channel is The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. We're on every Friday from 3 to 4:30. And I would like for you guys send us some questions, send us messages. Let us know what you think about the materials we cover. Let us know how it's relevant to your business. And also let us know if we've helped you in some way, shape, or form by providing you some kind of information. We would love to hear from you. So,
Oh, all righty, guys. We will see you next Friday at 3 o'clock. Have a fantastic week and be safe out there.
that's right.
As a small biz pro, I saw we roll, using procurement, program, and control. As a small biz pro, I saw we grow, using procurement.